I always knew there was something wrong in that forest, but I only understood what it was when I heard the first howl. It wasn't an ordinary sound. It was something primal, hungry, as if the earth itself were screaming through the flesh of some deformed creature. I'm leaning against the cold wall of my room now, my phone trembling in my hand, trying to record this before it arrives. The front door slammed shut minutes ago, the lights flickered, and for a moment, I thought I saw black fur dragging across the gap under the door. The wind outside seems to whisper words I can't understand, but they make my stomach churn. The smell? It's like wet earth mixed with iron or blood, and I can still hear claws scratching the floor downstairs. I always believed fear came from not knowing, but no. The cruelest fear is knowing too much. It's not the monster you don't see, but the one you understand too late. Since I was a child, I've carried this irrational dread of losing control, of becoming something I don't recognize in the mirror, of hurting those I love without realizing it. Maybe that's why now, with my hands sweating and heart racing, I realize the werewolf isn't just a beast. It's the warped mirror of what we hide. It's the hunger behind the mask, the anger suffocated in the chest, the guilt that grows in the dark until it has teeth. And me, standing here, I no longer know if I'm trying to survive or stop something inside me from awakening. The walls seem closer now, as if the house were breathing with me. I feel the cold floor under my bare feet as I walk through the narrow hallway. Every step is a challenge. The creak of the wood beneath me gives me away. I reach the stairs, look down. The living room is bathed in a red light that shouldn't exist. A dull sound echoes like nails scraping glass. My fingers tremble as I slide along the banister, avoiding looking at the window to my right, where a still silhouette watches me. In the kitchen, a glass falls on its own. Shattering, the sound pierces my ears. I flinch, close my eyes, and for a second, I feel hot breath on my neck. But when I open my eyes, there's nothing. Just the smell of earth again. The mind plays tricks when fear sets in. I start doubting every shadow, every noise. I check my phone, battery at 12%, no signal. I go back to the room, push the dresser against the door, but I know it's useless. I hear a scratching sound from inside the closet. Instinctively, I grab my headphones, start recording my voice. I want to tell this story so that when you watch it to the end, you'll know I tried. I only ask you one thing. If this video stirs something in you, if it makes you feel something real, wait until the end before you decide. Only subscribe, only comment, if these words reach you deep inside, because I'm sure what I've prepared here will stay with you much longer than it should. Now every room feels like a maze. I walk quickly, trying to remember where I left the keys, stumbling over my own thoughts. My eyes burn, my head aches, confused memories appear. Flashes of the last time I heard about the werewolf here. A missing boy, trails of blood in the pasture, a dog that stopped barking forever. The sound of something heavy on the roof makes me run to the bathroom. The mirror trembles. I close my eyes and whisper my sister's name, as if it's a shield. The sound stops. I open my eyes. In the reflection, behind me, something moves, too fast to explain. I grab my phone, but the screen is cracked. A notification pops up. He's close. I sit on the cold floor, my heart trying to break through my ribs, and I hear the most terrifying sound of all, silence. A thick silence that sucks the air out of the house. I lower my head, feel the heavy breathing on the other side of the door. I try to remember when it all started, but the memory fails, as if there were holes in time. And that's when I realize, maybe I was never just a spectator. Maybe I was always part of this, a piece of this twisted puzzle. I take a deep breath, look through the crack in the window. The forest seems to pulse, the trees bend, the night grows thicker. I know that when I cross that door, I won't come back the same. And you're gonna cross that door with me. I left the bathroom with weak knees, my whole body trembling like a wire about to snap. The hallway was dark, but not just from the lights going out. It was as if the darkness itself had thickened there, like a dense smoke floating in the air. My phone vibrated in my hand, and the screen lit up for a moment. "Go to the back door." An unknown number. My fingers hesitated before touching the doorknob, but behind me I heard the dry crack of wood, as if the wardrobe had opened on its own. I didn't think, I just ran. Every step echoed like a war drum. In the kitchen, the cabinets were wide open, dishes scattered on the floor, and when I reached the door, I realized it was ajar. A sharp, acidic smell drifted in with the wind. Something dead, but recent. Crossing that threshold was like falling into another world. The backyard was disfigured. The grass that once covered the ground was now a carpet of mud and deformed footprints. The sky, starless, looked like a ceiling too low, oppressive. My feet sank with every step, and the sound behind me didn't stop. Low growls, almost human, like a voice trying to form words without a tongue. I grabbed my phone again, opened the camera, and pointed it backward. On the screen, for a brief second, I saw the outline of something hunched in the corner of the kitchen. A misshapen body, its back arched, its face obscured by wet, black fur. I blinked, the screen went dark. The phone fell into the mud. I turned, stumbled, and my hands found something buried in the yard. A thick chain, still damp, with dark stains. A chill ran up my spine when I realized the hook at the end looked like it had been violently torn off. The sound was now coming from both sides of the house. I heard heavy footsteps, first to the left, then to the right. My eyes searched for an escape, and then I saw it. The back fence was broken, as if something massive had burst through from inside. I crossed the fence, tearing my shirt on the wire. On the other side, the tall grass swallowed me, and for the first time I caught the scent of the forest. A damp, wild, almost sweet smell, and wrong. The living forest seemed to call me, each tree a motionless figure, each branch an outstretched hand. I ran aimlessly, tripping over roots, tasting the metallic bite of fear in my mouth. Behind me, snapping sounds, bones breaking, flesh reshaping, as if the creature reconfigured itself with every step. I hid behind a trunk, chest heaving, and something unexpected happened. I heard a voice, weak, male, strangled. "You think you can run?" It whispered, but it wasn't directed at me. I peeked around the trunk. There was another man there, standing in the middle of the clearing, his face covered by a mask of skin. He looked straight at where I was hiding, and smiled. Time seemed to freeze. The clearing pulsed under the faint moonlight, and between the trees, dozens of eyes appeared. They weren't wolves. They weren't human. I felt the thud of my heart echoing in my hands as I backed away, groping the ground for a stone, a branch, anything. My fingers found something unexpected, a small silver amulet, tangled in a broken chain. When I touched it, a buzz sliced through my ears, and for an instant, I saw flashes. A woman crying, a body bound, the forest burning from within. The voice returned, now inside my head. "Remember who you are." I didn't know if it was a memory or a warning. I stumbled back to the edge of the clearing, no longer sure who feared whom. The creatures, now visible, formed a circle. Their bodies were hybrid, pulsing, never fixed, as if they rejected form. The masked man's eyes gleamed behind the artificial skin, and he raised a slender arm toward me. I felt a sudden heat in my chest. I looked down. There were marks on my skin, ancient lines burning like embers. The mask fell from his face, revealing something that was neither human nor wolf, but something in between, something I understood without comprehending. And then the clearing exploded into motion. I ran instinctively, stumbling through the trees, breath broken by sobs. Behind me, the sound of the pack, but there was something strange. They weren't chasing me like hunters. They were circling, guiding, as if I were being led to a fate already written. I reached a river, the water black and still. I knelt, trying to wash my face, but when I looked at the surface, the reflection betrayed me. My eyes, once brown, now glowed amber, and my teeth were stained red. I staggered back, screaming without sound, and realized the transformation wasn't just external. It was memory. It was inheritance. The ground shook. A deep sound cut through the night. A portal of curved trees opened ahead, a kind of living cathedral. My body felt pulled by invisible strings, and through sobs and spasms, I moved forward. The creatures stopped at the entrance, only watching. Inside, a crude altar, stones arranged in a circle, symbols carved into the ground, strips of skin hanging. My heart pounded erratically, my vision blurred. I felt hands on my shoulders, but when I turned, no one was there. When I touched the altar, a wave of images flooded me. Ancestral voices, broken pacts, and the face of the crying woman again, now clearly my mother. I remembered confused nights from childhood. Locked doors, muffled screams, unexplained marks on my skin when I woke. It all came back in fragments. Memories buried by time, now spit out by the forest. The masked man was behind me, kneeling, head bowed, murmuring words in a language I didn't recognize. When he raised his gaze, it wasn't anger I saw, it was grief. A pain so deep that, for a second, I forgot my fear. And then he spoke, low, like a whisper inside my chest. "You already know who you are." My body trembled, my skin burned, and for a moment, I felt, not a monster awakening, but something lost coming home. I tried to run, but my legs failed. The ground split into fine cracks, white light emanating from them. The creatures began to howl, not in hunger, but in mourning. The man approached, drew a bone dagger from his cloak, and pressed it into my hand. "Choose," he said. "But choose what?" The world spun. The trees twisted. The sky seemed to fall apart. I heard my own voice echoing, speaking words I didn't remember learning. And in the moment I raised the blade, I realized there was no longer a line between me and them. I was the bridge. The forest screamed. There's no other word. A collective scream cutting through flesh, soil, sky. My eyes burned, my veins pulsed, and the dagger seemed to melt in my hand. The creatures surged forward, not to attack, but to merge. Their bodies intertwined like living smoke, and I was at the center, the epicenter of a ritual too ancient for words. The marks on my skin burned, but the pain no longer mattered. I heard laughter and weeping mixed together, memories that weren't mine rushing through my mind. I no longer knew where I ended and we began. Then came the silence, absolute silence, like the pause between one heartbeat and the next. When I opened my eyes, I was alone. The forest asleep, the altar empty. The marks faded from my skin. My phone buzzed in my pocket, battery miraculously full. On the screen, only one recorded video. Me, staring straight into the camera, golden-eyed, whispering something I don't remember saying. Some secrets don't want to be uncovered. The video ends with a strange smile, one I've never felt on my face. And now, as I tell this to you, I realize the real terror wasn't going into that place. It's leaving it, and never knowing if I came back whole. I woke up on the cold floor of my room, hands dirty with soil, feet scratched, the phone still buzzing in my pocket. The video was there, playing on loop, me, staring into the camera, repeating that phrase that now weighed like a curse. Some secrets don't want to be uncovered. I got up slowly, my bones protesting as if I had aged years overnight. On the wall, the claw marks were still fresh, like open scars. When I tried to turn on the light, the switch failed. And in that brief moment of darkness, I swear I saw a figure crawling across the ceiling, upside down, eyes glowing amber. My mind teetered between reality and delirium. I walked to the bathroom, splashed water on my face, and when I looked in the mirror, For a second, I saw the reflection of the masked man behind me. I spun around, empty. The air was thick, charged, like just before a storm. When I looked at my hands, I saw the red lines slowly fading, but something inside me had changed. It wasn't just fear, it was belonging. A strange echo pulsed in my chest, like every heartbeat was out of sync with the world around me. I didn't know if this was the end or just the beginning. I left the house, trying to breathe, trying to find some logic in a night that now felt endless. The street was deserted, but there were signs. Marks on the asphalt, overturned trash cans, hybrid footprints that ended at the entrance of an alley. Every step I took made the ground vibrate slightly, as if I were walking over something alive. When I pulled out my phone to call someone, anyone, I noticed another notification. A message with no sender. Come back. My fingers froze, and behind me, I heard the laugh of a child, soft, almost sweet. But I don't live anywhere near children. The alley seemed to swallow me, and no matter how much my feet screamed to turn back, something kept pulling me in. On the ground, a doll made of twigs and strands of hair, with a small amulet hanging from its neck, just like the one I found in the forest. When I bent down to touch it, the laughter stopped, a silence so abrupt it made my ears ache. And in that moment, without explanation, I understood. It wasn't about monsters out there. It was about what had awakened inside me. If you've made it this far with me, just subscribe and leave a comment below if this video really got to you. Because I promise, the worst is yet to come. I kept walking, each step harder than the last. The city seemed distorted. Leaning lampposts, open windows and empty houses, shadows that didn't match any body. In a moment of madness, I thought I saw my mother in the neighbor's window, crying, her face buried in her hands. I ran, shouted, pounded on the door, but when it opened, only emptiness greeted me. The smell of the forest was still there, clinging to the walls. And on the table, a single word written in the gathered dust: accept. Slowly, I began to understand the pieces of the puzzle. The gaps in my childhood memories weren't accidental. They were erased, ripped away to protect me from myself. Every ritual, every night locked away, every distant whisper was an attempt to contain what was now exploding under my skin. But there was a calm in all of it, a false hope that if I kept going, if I faced what was coming, there might be redemption. And then the voice returned, not through my ears, but through my chest. There's no escape. There never was. At the end of the street, under the flickering light of a street lamp, the masked man was waiting. But now he wasn't wearing the mask. It was my face staring back at me, twisted, like in a nightmare where the reflection comes to life. When I tried to scream, my voice failed, and I felt his presence slip inside me, like a dense fog finding its home. The streets around me began to twist, the buildings leaning in a monstrous embrace. I was no longer walking in my city, but in something that pulsed, breathed, and laughed at my attempts to run. I started running without direction, the air burning in my lungs, my legs giving out at every turn. But there was something terrible. No matter where I went, I always ended up back at the same alley, the same twig doll, the same amulet. It was a labyrinth and I was the rat, or maybe the rat was something else. When I finally collapsed to my knees, I felt my eyes burning and realized I was crying without even noticing. And then one last image flashed through me. The forest. Always the forest. No matter how many walls, how many doors, how many cities, it always finds a way to return. The world around me dissolved into white noise. The childhood voice, the forest whisper, the child's laugh, the woman's sobbing, all blended into a dissonant chorus, dissolving any trace of identity I was still clinging to. When I finally closed my eyes, a cold sensation ran down my spine. It wasn't death. It was transformation. I realized too late that I was never the victim in this story. I was the catalyst. And in that final instant, A question sliced through my mind like a blade. If all of this is real, who's on the other side of the screen watching? If you've made it this far, maybe you've already felt the echo of what I felt. Maybe you've sensed the breath behind you as you watched, or the faint weight of eyes that weren't yours in the reflection of the screen. The terror doesn't end here. It spreads, it moves, it finds you in the spaces between sleep and waking. Because deep down, the truth is simple: we were never alone. And some secrets don't want to be uncovered.